Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom. We have the incredible honor of having Bob Burg on our Zoom tonight. He is the author of the international best-selling book, Go-Givers. And so we're going to talk to him a little bit about these 5 laws that he teaches about in the book. There's the law of value, the law of compensation, the law of influence, the law of authenticity, and the law of receptivity. So, Bob, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure, Cindy. It's great to be with all of you.
Yeah. So let's dive into this. We only have a half an hour, and we really want to pick your brain about these concepts. I know you've been teaching them to lots and lots of people all over the world, and I know that they're timeless concepts and something that really jives right along with the ethos of ASEA. So tell us, how would you like to get started? Would you like to talk about these 5 laws? And I mean, how did you discover these 5 laws, and why are you so passionate about them?
Well, so let's look, when we talk about what is a go-giver, what do we mean by the go-giver, right? Really, it's very simple. It's understanding that shifting your focus, and this really is where it all begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant way, a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And Cindy, not for any kind of woo-woo, way out there, magical, mystical type of reasons. It actually makes very rational, very logical sense. When you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, which I know is what your company is all about, right? When you can look at what this other person needs, what they want, what they desire, right? When you can take your focus off yourself and place it on helping them solve their issues, their challenges, when you can move from a focus on yourself to a focus on helping move them closer to happiness, right? People feel good about you. People feel great about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be part of your life. They want to be in a relationship with you. They want to do business with you. And they definitely want to tell others about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. So that's really what we mean by the term go-giver. And then, as you said, there are 5 principles, what we call the 5 laws of stratospheric success, but you can call them principles or, tips or whatever you want to call them, but they all work very much in tandem, very holistically. And again, those are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. And if you'd like, we can go through those, just sort of do a Reader's Digest version and see how they might, apply to all the associates who are on the call tonight.
Absolutely. That would be great. And, Vertus Norton, who's the founder of this company, has always taught us that you will be compensated to the degree that you are valuable. Just exactly what you said, you bring value, you'll be compensated, you'll be appreciated, you'll be listened to, in network marketing, sometimes we rush to bring up the product or bring up the business when it's not necessarily the right time. We should just have a conversation with that person.
Absolutely.
And get to know what they're looking for. So, sometimes we might not even bring up ASEA in a conversation if it's not going to serve that person in the conversation. And that's about totally taking your agenda out of the equation and totally, just like you said, focusing on the person in front of you, giving them value. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go over the law of value. What's that one all about?
Well, this one says your true worth, in the business sense, of course, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, this sounds a little counterintuitive. Give more in value than I take in payment. I mean, it sounds all nicey nice and everything, but it also kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. Give more in value than I take in payment. So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. See, price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be ecstatic that they did, while you make a very healthy profit. A quick example outside of the business would be if you were to hire an accountant to do your taxes, and this accountant charged you, and we're just going to name a round figure, $1,000, right? That's her fee, or her price, $1,000. But what value does she give you in exchange for this price that makes it so worthwhile for you? Well, through her work, her diligence, through her looking to get to know you and your business and what you're looking to accomplish, she's able to save you $5,000 in taxes. She also saves you countless hours of time, and she provides you and your family with the security of knowing it was done correctly, the peace of mind, right? So she gave you well over $5,000 in value in exchange for $1,000 price. So she gave you significantly more in value than what she took in payment. You feel great about it, of course, and she made a very healthy profit because it was worth it to her to exchange her time, her energy, her knowledge, her wisdom, and so forth for that $1,000. Actually, in any free market-based exchange, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone else. In any market-based exchange, there should always be at least two profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. Now, as an associate, and let's just say we're talking in terms of having a customer, right? Well, you know, and I again, I was telling you earlier, I got to do a deep dive on the products, and I mean, these are obviously exceptional. So when someone pays you for these products, what are they getting from this? What's the value, right? The relative worth that they are receiving from this? It's immense, as opposed to what they're paying. So they come away profiting, feeling great, and you come away obviously making a profit. Now, this happens, though, only because, as you said, your focus was not on the money. Your focus was on the value you're providing another person. This is why John David Mann, my awesome co-author of The Go-Giver, why we say that money, and I think this is actually very similar to what Mr. Norton says, we say that money is simply an echo of value, right? It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, which means nothing more than that the value must come first. That must be the focus. The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided.
Absolutely. You know, I just got a message right before we came on the Zoom from a brand new associate who told her friend about these incredible products, and they went to Amazon and they bought them because she had done such a great job educating them. The thing she didn't do a great job in educating them is how they should buy them. And I just texted her and said, just make sure they know that Jeff Bezos has enough money and that you'd really appreciate their support. Make sure you give them your website. So yeah, I mean, let's go into the next one, which is the law of compensation, because not only are we there to serve people, but we have to be effective in the field so that we do get compensated. Because at the end of the day, we have to pay our bills. We have to pay our mortgage. You know, it Absolutely. Is a business. So yeah, even though that's not the driving force necessarily, our driving force is to help other people, help them solve problems in their life. We still, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business. So tell us about the law of compensation.
Yeah. So the law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number two tells us that the number of people whose lives we touch, ultimately, that's what brings in the revenue. Okay. So, and in the story, because the Go-Giver is a business parable, in the story, one of the mentors, Nicole Martin, she was the CEO in the story. She explained to Joe, the protege, that the law of value represents your potential income. That's the foundational bedrock, right? But it's the law of compensation that determines your actual income, because that's all about how many people's lives you impact. And that's the key. And the wonderful thing about the network marketing model is that you have an opportunity to impact the lives of, hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, and more, both directly through your customers, but also indirectly through the team of associates that you're able to build. And so that's why the model works very well, because yes, the income is very important. Again, as you said, it's not the focal point. The focal point is the value you're providing. Okay. And again, that's not just touchy feely stuff. This is important. This is very important to understand. And I say this when I speak at sales conferences throughout the world. It's one of the first things I'll say. Nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
Right.
Nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money. And nobody's going to buy from you just because you're a nice person. People are going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. So to the degree that you are able to take your focus again off yourself and place it on serving them, providing immense value to them, that is the degree they are going to choose to do business with you. And that's when the income comes. That is when the money is the echo of value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's evident in this business, the people that have created the biggest ripple effect are the people that have the biggest paychecks. And there's those 3 stages of network marketing.
Right.
Most people don't make it through the first stage, which is where you work really hard and you hardly make any money. The second stage is where you work hard and you make okay money. And the third stage is that you're hardly working and you're making incredible money. But most people don't have the chutzpah or the discipline or the drive or the vision or the dream or whatever, the influence maybe, to get through stage 1 and stage 2 to get to stage 3. So let's talk about the law of influence.
So the law of influence says that your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, again, this sounds counterproductive at best and maybe even Pollyanna-ish at worst, but you think about it. The greatest leaders, top influencers, most successful, sustainably highest money earning people that you know, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for the other person's interest. Anybody who knows the story that, the Genesis story, right, of the company, and anybody who knows of Mr. Norton, both Mr. Nortons, but, the older one who had that amazing conversation with those people. And it wasn't enough to just get a huge paycheck, which he could have done and walked away. No, he had people who he cared about. He had people whose it was very important that he be able to continue to service those people. And that was put ahead of anything else. Okay. He's obviously a very successful person, right? So there's something to that. But let me also take it a step further. When we say place the other person's interests first, Cindy, we're not saying you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not. It simply is Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors. The golden rule of business, of sales, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, making your win all about the other person's win.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a saying in ASEA, and it says, if I can just turn I to we, I can turn illness into wellness. So it's all about what we can do together. We guide these people through their product experience. We guide them on what products to order and how to order them and how often they should take them, and to not expect overnight results because their body didn't get into a redox balance, right, an imbalance overnight, and it's not going to get back into a redox balance overnight either. So we're very authentic. We're speaking the truth. We're not doctors. We're friends, we're humans, we're on a humanitarian project, and we are simply speaking as authentically as we possibly can be without our agenda in mind. And the more authentic we are, not trying to be somebody else and not trying to impress anybody, not trying to be the message, but instead to be the messenger. Tell us about the importance of like the law of authenticity.
Yeah, it's a great segue. That's law number 4. The law of authenticity says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And in this part of the story, Deborah Davenport was the mentor, very successful business person. And she shared a thought that she learned that really sustained her. And that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they all are, and they are all very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And in an inconsistent world, that kind of consistency is very powerful. It's difficult to sustain trust without consistency, and it's difficult to be consistent if you're not authentic. Now, one thing I want to, mention about authenticity is, and this may have something to do with the internet and maybe I'm not sure, but it seems like these days authenticity has kind of taken on this new meaning where it's just, well, no boundaries, just do and say whatever I want because that's authentic. And as long as I'm being authentic, that's okay. No way. This is sort of like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. And if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. And of course, that's baloney. That's malarkey. It simply means this person has an authentic problem that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more effective, authentic version of themselves. So we never want to we never want to use the term authenticity as an excuse for not growing, for not staying where we are. We always want to continue to read and to grow and go to the conferences and meet with our mentors and continue to always learn, and grow into our best authentic selves.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about you, but the more I learn, the more I realize how ignorant I am. I'm listening to a book right now called Think Again. And, the author there talks about, the people that are more confident and, think they know it all are usually the people that get in trouble, and the people that kind of underestimate their, abilities and knowledge and whatever sometimes, work out much better. There's a ton of information out there. And, this business is often called it's a personal growth business with a compensation plan.
That's right. That's right.
And it's also said that we attract who we are. So if we want to be a major influencer and influence people with incredible power and networks and, that kind of, influence over, very powerful people who can also influence powerful people who can also influence powerful people, then we've got to work on ourselves, because life is about growth. And, we have to get out of our comfort zone and do things that we've never done if we want to get results that we've never gotten before, right?
It's a fantastic point. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it really is all about the inside game. Success is an inside job. It manifests outwardly, but it takes place inwardly.
Yeah. And I've always heard that if you can control the 6 inches between your ears, you've got this game won. And if you can't, you're going to lose. So you got to learn how to control this incredible computer between your ears, because it will determine your results.
Yep. Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Let's talk about the last law. The last law in your book, anyway, is called the law of receptivity. What's that all about?
So the law of receptivity says that the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. Really, this means nothing more than understanding that, you breathe out. Well, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other. It's both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts, but that's not the message that we get from the world around us, is it? There is such an anti-prosperity mindset within most of the world, and it feeds us these messages all the time. And when you think about it, our basic belief system, and what are beliefs? Well, beliefs are nothing more than subjective truths. It's the truth as we understand the truth to be. Which means that, it's not necessarily the truth, it's our truth, right? And our truth and the truth are not necessarily the same. See, our belief system is a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores, everything that comes into our lives. But by the time we're little more than toddlers, our basic set of beliefs are pretty much in place, right? They're foundational. Now, so most people grow up and live an entire life controlled by what I call their unconscious operating system. Okay, this is all of us. We think we're making choices out of free will and conscious thinking, when really we're living within, in a sense, like the Matrix, that first movie, right? And so, all our choices are within a certain, right? Until we get conscious of it, until we make the unconscious conscious. Once we do, we can now start questioning our premises. Well, one of the basic beliefs that most of us receive from that, from the time we're born and everyone around us, through schooling and the media, is that anti-prosperity, money is bad. People who make a lot of money did it on the backs of others or through nefarious means. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a big world. There's people who do things in ways we certainly don't like. But if you are working in a basically free market type environment where no one's forced to do business with you, the only way you can earn a whole lot of money is to serve a whole lot of people with a whole lot of value, right? And so what John David Mann and I like to say is that giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. They're two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. It's not, are you a giver or a receiver? No, you're a giver and a receiver. But here's what you know. The giving comes first. The giving of value. This is universal law. It's laws of nature, human nature, but also physical nature. We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. But once we've set this in motion through the giving of value, touching the lives of many, placing the other person's interests first, coming at it from a true, authentic core, we've created what we call the benevolent context for your success. And as it now comes to you, you've got to be able to make yourself open and willing to receive. The challenge with the anti-prosperity messages we receive is that it gets into our heads on a not just a conscious basis, that wouldn't be an issue, but on an unconscious basis. And that's why people sabotage their result. They don't allow themselves to receive what they've earned, right? And to allow themselves to be happy and healthy and wealthy and all those wonderful things that are all part of a prosperous life. So we want to be able to, as that last part of the fifth law is, we want to be able to allow ourselves to receive that which we have earned.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I love that word benevolence. I love that you set up a benevolent architecture so that you can give and you can also receive. And we've got a lot of go-getters in ASEA, a lot of go-getters. People see what this is and they think, holy smokes, I've never seen anything this big. I'm going to go tell the world about it. And, they really go for it. So talk to us about, you're a go-getter. Is that also a go-giver? And does it make you a go-taker? I mean, tell us about, how does that all work?
So that's the thing. So, a lot of people see the title of the book, The Go-Giver, right? They say, the go-giver, that must be the opposite of a go-getter. No, not at all. We love go-getters. Go-getters take action, right? And, you and I and everyone on this call, we're all in business. And we know that you can have the nicest thoughts, the best ideas, the greatest of intent. But unless action is put into the mix, nothing's going to happen. It can't happen. So we say be a go-getter, a person of action, and a go-giver, someone who's absolutely, totally laser focused on bringing immense value to others. Be a go-getter and a go-giver, just don't be a go-taker. That's the person who feels almost entitled, if you will, to take without having added value to the person, to the process, to the situation. And it's very difficult to do well financially and in other ways as a go-taker. Now, are there go-takers that do well financially? Absolutely. It's a big world. There's all sorts. Some people are just so great on the competitive plane, or they can just work that hard, or they can just, but it's tough. It's a lot tougher to do well financially as a go-taker. And most of the even financially successful go-takers do not have great relationships in other areas of their lives because they're go-takers. So, be a go-getter and a go-giver. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got a philosophy in an ethos in ASEA called keeping our P over our E and constantly driving up our C, which means we're really, keeping our principles over our drive for an economic need or an egotistical need, something that's going to make us look good, keeping our principles of honesty, integrity, kindness, compassion over that need to sell that person something or say something that's going to make us look good, right? And then constantly driving, improving, working on that personal growth, our capacity to, serve in the marketplace. So, Tyler Norton stresses that on a regular basis in ASEA, that we're a P over E company, constantly working on our C. So I really appreciate, what you're saying there. And we have so many compassionate people in ASEA that they have to realize that it's okay to earn money. I think a lot of us on this call have had a lot of money or had no money. And Zig Ziglar, I think it was Zig Ziglar said, people will tell you that, money's not important, and they'll lie about other things too, right? Money is an energy that can be used towards good or towards evil. It's just an energy, right? It's an exchange.
Yeah, I love when he said, money may not be everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen.
There you go.
Of course, he was the greatest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're coming down to the bottom of the half hour, and we could pick your brain for days. Tell us some nuggets that we can take away from this call and implement in our lives and in our business to, really to bring value to the people that we talk to, that we do business with, that we, to manifest those dreams that we all have, that we really are, using ASEA as a vehicle to manifest. What final nuggets do you have that we can implement?
I would say this, Cindy, and I remember learning this about 40 years ago when I first got into sales. Actually, it was a couple of years after I got into sales. I was in a terrible sales slump. And I remember a wise older gentleman. He wasn't even in the sales department of the company. I think he was an engineer, and he was just about to retire. And I think he saw me as sort of like Joe in The Go-Giver, who I would write about with John David Mann 25 years later. But he saw me as that young, up and coming, ambitious, aggressive, good heart, but focus on the wrong place, right? And he said to me, Burg, he was a last name kind of guy. He said, Burg, can I give you some advice? And I said, please do. I need it. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, and we can say in business as as an associate, as however, it's going to the same thing. He said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward, and that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose, but never forget, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It ain't the target itself. Your target is serving others. And Cindy, that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me. The great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. Great salesmanship is never about the product or service either. As important as it is, it's not what it's about. Great salesmanship is about the other person. It's about the value you're bringing to the life of another person. We could say it this way. It's about another person's life being better just because you are part of it. And I think that when we approach the business from that foundational premise, we're really 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game.
So true. It's so, so true. And some things you can just feel that it's true. I mean, it's not something you know, it's just something you feel that, I mean, it's just an obvious truth. I want to give a shout out to Thomas Kaminsky, who he was the one that hooked us up with you. And I just wanted to.
Thomas is a great guy.
Huge kudos. Incredible man. Incredible man. He had a question quickly before we wrap it up tonight about endless referrals. I know you've written another book about endless referrals.
That was my first book years ago. Yeah.
Is that right? Well, can you give us a quick tip on that? Because we could all use endless referrals. Right?
Yeah. I mean, this is really part of a system, and I know we're at the bottom of the hour, and you know, we're kind of talking about a 30-minute thing here. So, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to really give you any kind of tips that are going to be, and I don't mean to be saying, well, I can't, you know, but unfortunately there's nothing I can really say in the last 30 seconds. It's going to give you some really great tips on that. So I apologize.
Absolutely. No, I totally understand. We're opening a whole nother can of worms, right? Well, listen, Bob, I appreciate you so very much. I love the ethos that you talk with. It's right in alignment with the ethos that we're taught on a regular basis with this company. And we just appreciate you so much taking some time out of your evening and sharing your wisdom with all the people on this call and all the people out there on the internet. So really, really want to thank you.
My absolute pleasure. I wish you the best of success and wish all of you just a fantastic 2023 as you bring immense value to the lives of so many people.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, thank you so much. Good night. I know you're in Florida, so it's a little later there than it is in Colorado, but have an incredible evening. And we wish you a fantastic 2023 as well.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Bob.
Good night.